What up, folks? I'm Ultrazillatoys, and today I have a review of the SUPER7 Super Kaiju Godzilla 89 figure. Sorry, my zillions, we have a third line of Godzilla figures from fifth line of figures from SUPER7, because we got the Ultimates, we have reaction figures. They've done Super Cyborgs, they've done the Big Shogun, Mecha Godzilla. So yes, a fifth line of figures. Did I forget any? From SUPER7 called Super Kaiju. This is basically, they're calling it Super Kaiju because unlike their DX figures that they're doing, their deluxe figures, those are pretty much standard Ultimate size with like less detail. So I don't know why they're calling it DX. But you know, these figures are actually smaller, so while they're in line thematically with those figures, kind of like a downgrade from Ultimates, they are smaller figures, so I guess the Super Kaiju is the designation. It's got decent art here. It's not like the coolest art I've ever seen, but it's fine. I do like the package overall. I do like the Super Kaiju logo. It's pretty simple, but it works. You know, as a guy that designs logos, I think that works fine. I do like the embossed silver on them. Yeah, I think it looks pretty cool. The box is good. These are $35 each though, and besides the box, I'm not 100% sure. You might have seen my unboxing of this and Mecha Godzilla already, which I did want to get out there and get my initial thoughts because I was very curious about this line and how they were going to go. But we gotta look at it in depth now. You know, let's just leave it at that. So without any further ado, let's get to this review. And here's Godzilla out of the package. He's kind of interesting. Before we get them though, we do get this piece of building, or a building, that's kind of, you know, a little crushed already on top. I don't know if these like stack, but this is how it scales, and it's very small as is. Comparatively, here's a building from the McFarlane Pacific Rim line. You know, I mean, like, I think there's a little more detail in the SUPER7, but it's basically similar, and this is like 3 pieces of a breakaway, so if there's like pieces of that's coming, it makes a little more sense, but I do think, you know, scaling that way is a little bit better. So if you have these, they'll scale well with that. All right, so let's take a look at this figure a little closer. It is very interesting. It is a lot smaller than the Ultimates, a little bit bigger than the reaction figures. This being 5.5 inches and the reaction figures being 3 3/4, right? But the Ultimates are way bigger, and you'll see it in a comparison later. But there's also this weird feeling of it being like, I don't know, it doesn't, the scale, the like proportions are so odd on these figures. If like, it almost feels like an SD figure, but it's not. It's like somewhere in between, not like an SD, but like definitely more of a toy feel. Sort of like Bandai's new line of Godzilla action figures. It's like that, but maybe more so. It's weird. I mean, it feels weird. It looks odd. I'll be honest. I'm not sure about this. Now, the material here, the plastic quality is pretty thick. It kind of feels Ultimates-esque here, but then this is rubber because it houses a bendy wire. So, and the look, I mean, unfortunately, is very different. Maybe on camera it's not capturing it, but I mean, you could definitely tell it's different plastics here to here. You know, it is what it is. Let's look at the dorsal fins though. They look pretty good on this figure. It's not so bad. I mean, you do have the seam line here and here, but like going down along the edges, but that's kind of, I don't know. It's a little standard, so it's fine. The dorsal fins are decent enough though. The paint is pretty good. Some chippage at the end here, but otherwise it's not bad. The paint looks decent enough on the bendy wire as well, although it is like this kind of sprayish quality to it at the edges, which is kind of like almost like Movie Monster Series-esque. It's not the worst thing, you know, for a figure like this. The tail, the detail, I mean, it gets a little lost. Again, this type of plastic isn't super conducive to detail. So it's okay on the tail. Then the rest of the body, you know, the detail is a little bit better. It is very glossy, but it isn't bad at all. You know, like, it works. I mean, you could tell it's a Godzilla leg, and the toenails do have a little, you know, it's not perfect at the edges. You can see a little, that happens on a lot of Godzilla figures, but you kind of don't want it happening right out of the package. But yeah, you know, they're kind of yellowish. Nails, hands as well, kind of typical. It works, it's fine. But the legs do look a little short. As does the body, as does the head. Everything feels a little scrunched in here, you know what I'm saying? There's the proportions in total. It's a little weird. This is, if you look at this, you wouldn't think this is an exact Godzilla proportion. You know, like the neck is too short. This just like, it's odd. Individually, sections are okay. The body's okay. I don't really see much paint on this guy. You know, other than the, you know, the natural shading. Like, and obviously the dorsals, it just looks like, you know, the gray plastic to me. But it's all right. I mean, we've seen plenty of that. And with this kind of glossy plastic, you know, it's going to happen. The head sculpt is interesting. It's all right. I mean, you know, I don't know. Like, the face, he looks good enough, actually. I don't know. Like, the closer you zoom, the eyes are okay on both sides. Again, there's like this kind of scrunched feeling to him. The tongue is all right. The teeth are painted decently enough. No mess ups in that department, at least. You know, I mean, your mileage is going to vary on how you feel about that. These dorsals up here are not painted. They kind of usually aren't. What do you guys think? I don't know. I'm on the fence here. On the head. Again, there's a little bit of that scrunchiness going, but in certain angles, he looks pretty good. You know, but then in total, not as good. But at certain angles, it's not bad. The thing, you know, I've said, though, is like, $35 is a lot for what this is. I don't see it. Like, you know, I said the same thing about the Bandai Godzilla action figures. It's just like, I feel like the price is not matching what they are giving us, especially compared to other lines. And I'm not talking Godzilla lines. I mean, yeah, they got a tail, but so what? You know, like, I don't know. $35. That's a lot of money for this. I'm not sure I could sign off on that, but, you know, I don't know. It's not the worst figure I've ever reviewed. It's just, I'm not sure what they're going for with this is probably my main problem with it. I'm not sure. And as far as articulation on Godzilla, the mouth opens. You do have a swivel at the head. You have a hinge swivel at the shoulder. You have a hinge at the elbow. And the bottom part swivels, so there's nothing at the wrist. But it swivels there, so that works. There's nothing at the waist. The legs can split that far, go forward, go back. Single joint at the knee, and you can turn it as well. And a joint at the ankle, and you can rock it. So it's not bad. As far as the tail, you can turn it there, and then, like I've mentioned, the rest is a bendy wire. I mean, it's not like the best bendy wire, but there's a little bit of bend there. And for your size comparisons, first up here is Godzilla with his fellow Super Kaiju and Mechagodzilla 93. And the interesting thing about this, kind of like the Godzilla action figures, the Godzilla is bigger than the Mechagodzilla. I do not know why companies are doing this, but it just feels really, really odd to me. And here they are with the Bandai Godzilla action figures. A comparison I think a lot of folks want to see right now. They scale okay with them. The Godzilla action figures are slightly bigger. So that, I don't know. You could make a case that they scale okay. Yeah, I do have these beam effect mouths in them right now, and I don't know where the regular ones are, so there's that. But they are a little bit bigger than these Super 7 figures. But they kind of work together. I mean, I could say it, you know, like if you put like Godzilla here against Mechagodzilla, I think it works decent because again, I feel like Mechagodzilla should be a little bit bigger. Of course, you know, this is probably a better one, but they're not from the same movie either. So I don't know, but you know, take this information however you wish. And here's Godzilla with a couple of the McFarlane figures. I mean, I think folks like a massive Godzilla compared to the Jaegers, so you guys let me know what you think of this. I do think with the Kaiju, it doesn't look so bad, right? I mean, I could see that working. Here's Godzilla with a Mezco figure as well as a Revoltech. And I feel like these lines actually work together very nicely. But no, it does not scale with the SH Monstars or the Hiya Toys. And as far as Super 7's own reaction and Ultimates line of Godzilla figures, here's how the new Super Kaiju figure scales. So yeah, I feel like if this guy was just a tad bit bigger, he'd be that really midway point, just a tad bigger. As of now, I don't know. Like, it's weird though, but like, if you look at these three, like, even like the reaction figures proportions look a little more like regular proportions. The Ultimates have really nice proportions, but yeah, this new figure line, I'm not sure what the proportions are supposed to be there. They're just very odd. And my final thoughts, this is a really odd line. The proportions, like I keep saying, are really, really weird, and for the price, I'm not sure this is quite a $35 figure. Like, I really don't get what Super 7 is going for here on who the audience is for this. This is not a collector's figure, and it's too expensive to be a kid's figure. So I'm not exactly sure, like, where this falls in between. You know what I'm saying? Like, even, like, the reaction line is kind of a collector's figure line in the sense that it, like, it's meant to, like, you know, evoke old 3 3/4 inch figures from when folks like me were young. You know, like, so that's even more of a collector's line than this. So if this is supposed to be a kid's line, $35 is a lot to spend, I think, on a kid's toy. Even the Bandai new figures aren't quite $35. They're in the 20-something dollar range. And even those don't feel that price. You know, I've said that in those reviews. This one I feel like even more. It's got nice packaging. The little building accessory is kind of cool. And as you'll see in the Mechagodzilla review, they do stack. So that's a little better. But the figure itself, I mean, it's not a terrible figure. I'm not saying it's a terrible figure. But it does have odd proportions. And I just don't know, like, what the purpose is of the line. I really, really don't, because, I mean, there's no, like, if they're getting away from the Ultimates, this isn't it, guys. Like, this isn't gonna sustain the collector at all, so I'm not sure. I'm honestly, throw my hands up, I'm not sure about this and what the purpose is of it. it's just okay, and it's just okay at a price point that I really wouldn't want to pay. I got it on a little bit of a deal. If you could get it on a deal, yeah, check it out. Why not? I'm always up for checking out new lines. But as far as collecting them at this price point, I don't think I'm gonna be doing so. And that doesn't mean I'm not gonna check out figures down the line if they continue to do it. But as of right now, not so sure. And there you go, guys. I'll keep it at that. That's my review. Hope you dug it. Let me know your thoughts down below. And if you're new to the channel, why don't you go ahead and sub yourself for daily content and let me help you diversify your collection. Till next time, peace out, peeps.